what I call Model Your Way to a Million, and it is directly out of the MREA. Show of hands or a thumbs up, how many people have read this book? Read it? Okay. If you have not read it, get you a copy. I'm sure Katie can hook you up with a copy.
Yeah, just let me know. I'll be happy to.
Yeah, it is something else. I have read this book, I want to say at least 12 times, and I've only been with Keller Williams for 4 years. So 3 or 4 times a year, every year. And it's essential in how you run your business. I'm not saying that because I'm with Keller Williams. I have friends that are RE/MAX agents, that are really South agents, ERA. I have friends all over, and I literally hand this book out everywhere I go. And it doesn't matter what brand you're with or who you're selling for. Everybody should have a copy of this if they're in the real estate business. It has 4 different models in it, and we're going to talk about a couple of those models today. So today we're gonna learn how to implement a proven model to $150,000 in GCI. You're gonna have some homework today. If I can show you a way to make $150,000, would it be worth a little bit of homework? Yeah, exactly. And how uncomfortable are you willing to be to achieve success? Now, this past week, we at our market center have been talking to a lot of different people, and I know Katie has brought in a lot of different talent for you guys as well. What's the most uncomfortable thing that you've ever done to generate a sale? This is the participatory part here. What's the most uncomfortable thing?
Talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone.
Follow up is good.
Yeah, follow up. Yeah, follow up is a huge key. For me, it was door knocking. I love people. I love, if you can get me in front of someone, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. That's what all of my friends said, and that was prior to real estate. I sold insurance before this, and they were like, you could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I thought, well, no, number one, I'm authentic and I care about people, number 2. So if you care about people and you want to help them achieve whatever their goals are, it will come back around and God will bless you as well, in my opinion. I was talking to Rachel Adams-Lee this week, and one of the things she said, I asked her this question. I said, how were you uncomfortable in the beginning of your career? For those of you that aren't familiar with her, she went from 32 deals a year to over 100 in her second year in real estate, and is consistently one of the top producers in KW. What she said, and it astounded me, she said, I knocked 200 doors a week, and I had 3 open houses a weekend. 3 open houses in one. So, and I thought I was a baller doing 2. She was doing 3, okay? 3 open houses every weekend to build her pipeline, to build her database and get that going. So in the MREA, and I'm going to reference this quite frequently through here. So reference number page 138. I don't know if you can see that. 138 in here, and what it says is it shows you the ways that you can get paid. Now, I always call it 5 ways of getting paid. You sit down and you look at what are the things that you are willing to do, that you have a skill set in or could obtain a skill set, and what that looks like for you. So give me a few ways that y'all are currently getting your leads right now.
Social media.
Social media, that's a great one.
Website.
Say that again.
Website.
Websites, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the same websites. I do mail outs. I invest a little bit in Zillow.
Okay. So farming and Zillow.
Farming.
Okay.
Pop
All
buys
right.
to past clients.
Past clients, yes. That's an excellent one. Yes.
And I've done door knocking. That's
Okay.
I feel very comfortable knocking on someone's door.
There you go. Well, James, I commend you because that was one of the things that I did to build my business. And when I left the sales side, I left a $10 million plus business, consistent business.
Yeah, I have a background of door-to-door sales, so I have no problem with that.
There you go. So you're willing to door knock 200 a week then?
I've knocked when I worked in the service industry, I'd knock at least 200 a week. It was, that was not an issue.
Okay, and so you were building the cash for another company, not for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So if you're willing to do that for someone else, what are you willing to do for yourself?
I'm willing to do the same. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, looks good. I love that commitment. I love it. Okay, so the next thing, this is the actual formula. So screenshot it. I don't care what company you're with, screenshot it. One listing appointment a week for 40 weeks will yield you 10 listings sold. So, and that's at a mediocre conversion ratio of 50%. So how we get that math? One listing appointment a week times 40 weeks. And where did I get 40 weeks? That's 12 weeks off. And if you divide that out, that's really only working, 3 weeks in a month. So sit down and look at that math. It's fun. So what would it look like if you got a week off every single month? I know Katie and I would love that. So you got 40 listing appointments times 50% converted. That's 20 listings a week. 20 listing appointments at 50% conversion is 10 listings sold. Y'all follow the math on that? Okay, I'm getting a lot of yeses. Okay, make sure you type in it if you need some help. And Katie, if you'll watch that for me to make sure I don't have anything on the chat box. All right, in the MREA, it says specifically that a balanced business is 50% listings and 50% buyers. So if you've got a listing, you should either sell that seller on the buy side, or you're going to get at least a one buy call. Would everybody agree with that? Okay. Now here's your math part. Your math part is to look and see what your average commission is through sold. Okay. If you're with KW, there's an easy way to do that. If you've been with KW for longer than a year, you will have a multi-year trends report. What you do to go get that is simply you go to mykw.kw.com and you're going to pull up our KW intranet, and it's going to have your pretty face in the upper left-hand corner, and underneath your face is going to be the tab that says reports. You're going to click on reports, and then you're going to be prompted to another screen, and you're going to click on reports again, and then the drop-down menu will say multi-year trend. That piece will show you what it'll show you both your conversion rates and it will show you your commission amount. So you'll have to do a little bit of math, and this is your homework part, because we want to figure out where you are today. Today is April the 29th. Today is your line in the sand, okay? For those of you that aren't with KW, it's going to take a little bit more. You're going to have to go to your MLS. You're going to pull up your sold production, both in listings and buy side. So you'll probably have to pull 2 reports. And then you'll figure out what your average commission is by the number of units you've sold and your average commission. Usually the MLS does not have your percentage on there, so you're probably going to have to do an Excel spreadsheet of some sort to figure out what your total commission is. So when you get done with that, you'll be able to see 2 things, and these are the 2 variables you need, because we want to track it, because if we're not tracking it, we can't increase it, right? So if you're tracking your conversion ratio and you're under a 50% ratio, then we've got a lot of work to do. And when I say a lot, I'm just talking about a lot of focus. We're going to focus on skill set. We're going to focus on a couple of key things. If you're over 50%, then plug your numbers in. Plug in your conversion ratio. One thing with KW agents, you'll be able to do this a little easier, because the only thing you ever have to enter in is the number of appointments you went on for the month, okay? You can track that through Kelly, pulling up your mobile Kelly app, which is the version of Command. You physically just say, Kelly, add 1 appointment for this month. Kelly, add 5 appointments for this month. How many ever you went on, you're tracking your listing side. That will put in your listing, and then we can track your conversion, and that's all you have to do. For those of you not with KW, one of the things that works is to start an Excel spreadsheet. And you literally just type in the month and you sit down and you write in how many appointments you've went on. It's important to track this conversion ratio because you can't get better until you know where you started. Would you agree with that? Yes? Okay. All right. So here's a couple of things, and I'm going to pause right here on the presentation. A couple of ways to get better. And I did this well before I started KW. However, KW this is ingrained in some of the training mechanisms. One way is to record your process all the way through. So if you are calling for appointments, record yourself. Okay, record yourself calling for appointments. See where your energy is high or where your energy may be low. When you are on the appointment, whether you're a buyer's appointment or whether you're a listing appointment, see where the flaws are. That particular piece, if you don't get the appointment, I would hone in and say, go back through that and look at it from a objective point of view. You may get a friend or a spouse or a team leader or your broker or someone to look at that recording and say, where do you think I could have improved? And this is where Katie will coach you. Because this part is essential. I have taken people's businesses in our market center with a minimum of a 28% increase just on recording alone. I had one agent that came from a mom and pop brokerage here in Birmingham, and she increased hers 327% production just by this one step alone. So recording, it may sound hokey, and you do want to ask permission so it can be out in the open. And the script that I use for that is very simple. I'm a professional in this industry, and as a professional, I have a coach. And my coaches asked me to record the next five appointments that I go on so we can audit those so I can get better. Would you help me in getting better? And that's all that. I've never been turned down, not once. So that piece is very critical. The third thing I would tell you is to get in a skills-based program. Bold is coming up next week. Bold Pivot is the #1 thing that you can do in order to increase your skills base. If you're not closing 20 deals a year and making $150,000, everything else should stop. You should go straight to Bold and run. Bold has, on average, in the 8-week period that it normally is ran, is 17 transactions just in that 8-week period. Okay, right here on the screen, we're showing 20. So literally 3 more deals throughout the year. So you sit down and you look at this. Now, we don't have stats on Bold Pivot. It's the first time it's ever been done. However, if we take the same skill set, and let's say we take the 8 weeks and we divide it by two, because it's going to be a 4-week program. When we divide that out, that 17 out by 2, how many do we get? How many do we get? I'm an engaging personality. Sorry if you're muted yourself. Tell me what we got.
17 divided by 2?
Yep, divided by 2.
That should be easy math. Is
8.5?
8.5.
Yeah.
8.5. Okay. So if you've got 8.5 to your 20 units, the rest of the year, you have the rest of the year to do that remaining. What is that? 20 minus 8.5. So that's what, 11.5 deals, right? Mm-hmm. So if you ran Bold Pivot, just ran that playbook for two consecutive months, your average should be 17 deals, and you should be well on your way to this $150,000. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's skills based. So in the skill, what you're doing is you're doing a couple of different things. You're doing an average of 50% conversion. And in that 50% conversion, you have the MREA as a basis. You have videos online. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't have a video set up on YouTube yet, but I would highly encourage you to follow Rachel Adams Lee. We interviewed several MREA agents this year. All of them have a program. All of them have a plan to where they physically increase their skill set. For me, for instance, as a top producing team leader, one of the things I still do, I still go back to script and role play. I still script and role play with my agents. It is, they try to stump the team leader. And I'm going to put this out there to Katie. She doesn't know I'm doing this. So one of the things they love to do to me around here is they love to stop me in the hallway and say, I have this objection. How would you handle it? And boom, I have to come up with something immediately, or I am donating to KW Cares. And I mean, it's just one of those things that they always try to get me, and it's a win-win. You know, I donate to KW Cares maybe once or twice a year because they come up with some weird ones, oddly enough. But that is one of the ways to sharpen your skills. Find a friend, find a buddy who you can objection handle with. When I was selling, my husband was my objection handler. He would come up with some of the craziest stuff off the top of his head, and I would handle the objection. And as you're in it, you're gonna come across objections that are gonna happen regularly. So what's some of the objections you have normally?
I don't want to pay the 6% commission.
Okay. All right. I don't want to pay the 6% commission. What else?
Why pay a realtor to do what I can do on my own?
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll take both of those right now. So I don't want to pay 6% commission. Mr. Seller, I understand what you're saying, but let me have some clarity around it. You don't want to pay 6% commission. What if I could show you that I could get you 20% more on your home than what you could get with another agent? What if I could show you a way that I could make you 3% more than another agent? Okay, so that goes back specifically to your skill set. One of the things that I did really well when I was selling was specifically looking at the market. So if you look up your stats will show a very telling story. If your average sales price is 97% or better, that's a very honed skill set. If you're lower than 97% to list price, then you need to work on what your listing is. I averaged 99.5%. I could have actually rounded it up to 100, but I didn't think anybody would believe that. The key is to show what is your average MLS selling at. So you've got a little bit of homework here. That is looking at your MLS stats to see what the average listed sale price is. In ours, it's under statistical reporting, and you go to that and you look and see what theirs is. So for instance, in ours, it was 94% when I was selling at 99.5. So I was physically better than the average MLS agent by 5.5%. So if I'm translating that into sales price, and I'm just going to do some quick math. Let's say, what's your average sales price down there?
150,000.
Okay, so 150,000, and I am 5.5% better than the average agent. That's $8,250. So, Mr. Seller, if I can show you how to make $8,250, would you be willing to give up 1%? If I could trade you that 1% commission, which usually that's what you're differing about, right? It's usually just 1%, or at least that's the way it was in my case. I showed the value of 5.5% versus 1%. So who wouldn't trade 5.5% for 1%? Right? What was the other objection? I forgot.
Why pay an agent for something I can do myself?
Okay, so this is where NAR comes into play. NAR has an interesting stat right now about the average for sale by owner and what they yield versus what you yield with a realtor. So with the realtor side of it, you usually end up at 6% greater than a for sale by owner. And it's all skills based. So there's several ways you can come at this, and I love this objection because I had such fun converting for sale by owners. For sale by owners, typically they just wanted to net the amount of money they wanted to net. If I can show you, Mr. Seller, that you can net more with me as your agent, would you be willing to sign the listing agreement today? And then I walk through the process. But until I get agreement, and that's the only objection they have, this method is called isolating the objection. And Zig Ziglar did this quite frequently. This is where I learned that skill set from, is sitting down and isolating the objection. So if Katie were the for sale by owner, and I would just look at Katie and say, Katie, if price wasn't an objection to you, and commission was an objection to you, are there any other things that would prevent you from signing the deal today? And we would just go through that, and until she got to a point, no, if you handle all of those objections, I'll sign with you today. That's a skill. That's a skill that goes into getting the closed deal. Okay. Several people on KW Connect that I would suggest you to look up. Jeff Glover did a script off, and I loved it because it was him versus another top agent. So either script that you used was amazing. He has his own coaching company, so you can coach with him every single month. I think that's $1,000 a month or something like that. And he shows you how he yields a higher rate on his coaching program and what that looks like. But you can look him up for free under KW Connect and not pay yet for that. So how would you like to learn how to do 320,000? Okay. All right. So it's improving your skill set to increase your conversion ratio. So when you do your homework of finding out your conversion ratio, that's the line in the sand. So whatever that number is, I want you to post that number somewhere that you can see it every day, whether it's on your screensaver, whether it's on the mirror in the bathroom, or whether it's on your laptop where you can see that number every single day. I need you to look at that. I need you to say, I am better than a 48% conversion ratio. I am better than a 52% conversion ratio. Part of this process is a mindset and confidence builder. Part of the process to increase that conversion is just being able to recite your objection handlers in a conversational style dialogue. So it's not so scripted. Even though you're learning the script, you're going through that process. I've met several agents over the years that said, well, I'm not a script person. I'm not a script person. Yet we all have scripts. Would you like me to prove that to you? Okay. How many of you dressed up at Halloween as a kid? How many dressed up? Okay. All right. How many of you went and knocked on a door at Halloween? Okay. What did you say?
Trick or treat.
Trick or treat. That's a script. That is a script. Everybody does scripts. It's a matter of how natural you do it. I've taught this particular class probably 6 or 7 times. I don't say it the same exact way every time. You can see the passion coming out of me because I believe in this. I believe that you can increase your skill set and your conversion ratio will automatically rise. One of the things that I did as an agent was to increase my negotiation skills. So there's a class called Certified Real Estate Negotiator. I highly recommend that class. I forget the guy who teaches it. He's a guy out of Texas. But he comes in, he taught it to our market center probably 2 or 3 years ago. It's about time for us to have him back in. what he does in that class is he has you break out in exercises, and we do this periodically in the team room. Is we'll give you a scenario, and you and your partner have to negotiate it out, and you negotiate it. One book to read in this avenue is Never Split the Difference. Okay. How many of you have heard of agents say, oh, well, we're just, $3,000 apart, let's split the difference? How many have heard that?
Yes.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. The reason why is because we're always either in a seller's market or a buyer's market. And the advantage goes to that person who's on that side of it. So if we're in a seller's market, why would the seller split the difference? They could sell it full price to someone else, right? Or maybe even right now, overprice. So when you sit down and you look at improving your skill sets, negotiation is one of them. Communication is definitely another one. So if you, we have people in our market center that have went to speech classes because they were having trouble enunciate. So I have one top agent, and I won't reveal her name, but I have one top agent who went to an actor's class, and it was an actors guild on how to answer questions with a question. And we did that as a team building exercise. So if I were to ask Katie, how's your day going? She couldn't say fine. She had to ask me a question back. And so it's answering a question with a question and going as far as you could go with it. It's a fun exercise. So communication, negotiation, and your final skill set, I believe, is your presentation skills. Keller Williams offers a Train the Presenter course. It is a live course with only 20 people allowed in it. And in that course, you actually present to a group of your peers, which is freaking terrifying. It is terrifying when you haven't done that before. I will tell you, I did it for the first time, and I had been presenting to a room of hundreds of people for years and years, and it was still terrifying. So when I tell you, go up there, do that class, do the work, that is a course that can set your world on fire. I specifically had the first class in Atlanta. I remember it as if it were yesterday. And I flew in from Oklahoma because my daughter was in the World Series. She used to play at Auburn for softball. And I remember calling Lisa Roman, who was the person who set the class up, and said, hey, I'm taking the red eye. We just lost out on the World Series by 1 run, but I will be there tomorrow. So I took the red eye, got up at 4 a.m. to do this course. And it's a 2-day course, well worth your time and effort. It is highly engaging in your skill set. If you never do anything else, that's one of the things I would tell you would increase your listing presentation tenfold. And the reason why is because you understand how to set up something to where someone else can understand it. So you're looking at train the presenter, communication, and then negotiation. Those are the 3 skill sets that I see that can help this process go from 150 to over 300. You can't really see this the way this is drawn out. So the way you get your conversions is the number of appointments divided by the number of listings. And you do the same thing with the number of listings divided by the number of closings to get your conversion. Very simple. So this is the process to getting higher. Going from a 50% conversion ratio to a 75% conversion ratio. Remember, we were at 20 listings once we added it out or multiplied it out. Now we're at 30. What does happen is when you go to 75% on the closure ratio, you go up from 10 to 23. That's huge. That will change your world. What would you do with an extra $150,000? That's how important that 25% is. James, what would you do with it?
I'd have to buy that beach house I've been thinking about.
Yes. Okay, so when that happens, I'll give you my phone number so you can call me and my husband and we'll come and join you. So an extra $150,000 is sitting right here in the simple math. It's 25% difference in your skill set. That's what I want you to hear today. If you take nothing else away from today, increasing your skill set from where you are currently to where you will be will change your world by $150,000 or even more. So here's the math. 23 listings sold and 23 buyers. I did the math wrong. I typed it out wrong here. It's supposed to be 46. So let me make sure I've got the math on here. 46 times 7,500, that's 345,000. Okay. So what's your average commission? And I'll multiply that out for you guys. What's your average commission?
Oh, 4,500.
4,500. Okay. So
Yep.
that's 207,000. That's a huge difference. All right. Then you're looking at the same exact model. What do you think we're going to change here? We increased our conversion. That was the only thing we changed last time. And we're going to change one thing. The one thing we're going to do is we're going to change it as to how the flow goes. So to get $1 million, you can't do that by yourself. Would y'all agree?
Correct.
Okay. So you're going to have to change your org chart. And all the org chart is an organizational chart. And in the MREA, there is an organizational model. And it's very simple. When you operate by yourself, typically you can do 36 units. Easy breezy, no problems. Most agents can get to that amount. Now there's some that have a little less bandwidth because maybe they have 3 kids at home and there's a lot going on at home, okay? But most agents can get to 36. What happens on your org chart is very unique. You add 20 more deals when you hire an admin. You add another 20 deals when you add a marketing person or a second admin, okay? So that's somebody taking care of the septic tank guy, the termite guy, the sewer guy, all the guys that we employ when we do a transaction. All of that takes time. And you'll hear us talk about working in your business versus working on your business. When you're talking to all the people, you're in the weeds, you're in the business. When you're working on your business, it's hiring the right people to go into this process. So when we sit down and we look at the org chart, I don't know about the rest of you, but as a realtor, I did not have an HR background. I never hired anybody. I never vetted anybody. I never checked anybody's references. I didn't know anything about hiring anybody other than the interviews that I had went on. That's it. So one of the things that we offer, and we offer it to everybody here, as well as anybody that's with another company, we offer it as a free service. It's called the Keller Personality Assessment. It tells us what that person's strong suits are, whether they are going to be a right fit for that job. Have you ever heard of the Energy Bus by, what's his name? It's Gordon, by Gordon. Can't think of his last name. The Energy Bus talks specifically about being in the right seat on the bus to receive the right energy. And what that looks like is, if you hire an admin who really wants to be a marketing person, you need to make that shift very quickly, or else that person is going to drive your admin stuff into the ground because that's not the right seat for them. Okay. You can hire the person and be a lovely person, but not be on the right seat in the bus. Okay. That's the reason why you'll see a lot of people changing admins frequently, because their personalities don't work together. Their skill sets aren't matched for that job. Their happy place is not in that job role. So we teach a class called career visioning, and in career visioning, you learn how to hire a person to hire for your team. So that's how you get into the correct job cycle and job duties for that person. Because if your strength set all day long is talking to people, and you're stuck behind a desk and you never get out from behind the desk, and you get energy like I do from people, you're not going to be in your happy place. your happy place is in front of people, being the life of the party, that kind of thing. So typically when a top producing agent hires an admin, you'll see their sales go up. But here's the important part. Their time also increases because they were so bogged down and so in the weeds that we ended up having less efficiency. When you have less efficiency, things take longer. You tend to pick and stop and start over. You know, it ends up being a longer process than what it would be if you had someone that was working efficiently. Agreed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to do on this one is we're going to do one listing appointment a day for 40 weeks with 75% conversion ratio, okay? What does it look like if you turn your one listing appointment a day by 40 weeks? That's 200 listing appointments, okay? 200 listing appointments converted at 75% is 150 listings, okay? 150 listing appointments with a closure ratio of 75% is 113 listings sold. Now, I can tell you story after story of agents who have hit this threshold. If you want to be introduced to some, Katie's got several that she can conference call you in. People that are doing this every year over year, and they're having consistent results because they have the right people on the right seat of the bus, and because they have additional leverage. So efficiency matters. Who your team is matters. This changes the world right here. Any comments on what this looks like? Okay, so to give you an idea, go ahead, James.
It said it looks like a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
Commission. Yeah.
I sold 92 homes in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't hit this 113. I was kicking butt and taking names. The only way I could do that though is I had an admin that was off the charts. I mean, she was absolutely amazing. And then I had a partner, a business partner. So 2 salespeople did all 92 listings, and that was in the height of 05. So we were booking it. It was intense. Here's the thing. When you are following the model and you do that 113 listings sold, you get also 113 buyers. That's 226 closed units. And at our sales price at 7,500, that's $1.6 million. I'm gonna multiply that out to get yours. Let's see, 4,500 times 226. That's still $1 million at your average price. Thoughts, comments?
You definitely revolutionize your life.
Yes. So Sarah, where are you at with your team?
I have an admin that's part-time, and then I have Rebecca, who is licensed and helps me with marketing and paperwork and that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Are you with KW or you're with another company?
We just came back to KW
Yay.
yesterday,
Yes.
2 days ago.
Now-ish?
All right. Well,
What is
welcome
time?
home.
What is
I
time?
probably recognized you from the video the other day. So in that scope, one of the things I would encourage you to do for your team is look at the MREA and see what the next step is. And Gary always says, whenever you're in a shift, you want to think as if you're in the next level. Mm-hmm. So no matter where you are in your team, if you are a single agent or if you have as many people on their team as Sarah does, you want to look at the next level of the MREA. And in here is the org chart that will show you specifically who the next person is to hire. So you want to be gearing to that. And the reason why I say gearing to is because there's some things that have to happen. You have to capitalize your business. And that may mean remargining. And by that, I mean cutting some expenses, changing some expenses, holding expenses accountable So like James, you said you were paying Zillow some money, and I'm just going to throw a figure out. 300. Let's say you're paying $300 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's look at what that $300 a month is yielding you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it yielding you enough to be investing in that? And could we put that $300 towards something different? For
Sure.
instance, you know, if you put $300 towards Facebook ads, what does that look like? You know, what kind of return do you have? I know right now one thing that's really popular for our agents is ads for Keller Mortgage, because they've got a 0+ loan. And if you advertise that 0+ loan, what happens is you're getting we're getting a 92-cent per lead, and they're good leads, 92 cents a lead. So if you put $300, and I'm gonna just multiply that out real quick. 300 divided by 92 cents, that's 326 leads.
Wow.
That's a lot of leads.
It's a lot of leads.
Yeah. And so when you're sitting there and you're looking at it, okay, if you get 1 or 2 deals a year, is it worth the ROI? So one of the things Gary looks at specifically in the MREA is what your ROI should be. A 1-to-1 is obviously, that's not good. A 1-to-2, meaning you get 2 times your investment back. That's not good either, because you still have all the expenses that are incurred. And then, you know, even a 1-to-3, you could probably be very close to hitting the expense mark. So at a minimum, you're looking at a 4-to-1 ratio. Now, the agents that I'm working with, what they're looking at is an 8-to-1 ratio or nothing else. So like if they're buying from Boomtown or Zinc, Sync, or wherever they're getting their leads from, they physically are looking at an 8 to 12-to-1 ratio. So that's the reason why you're seeing some of the mechanisms change. There's several things that have changed on our end that have helped us, specifically the partnership with Facebook and Google to upload our agents first. To get us a better, like if you were an average agent working for mom and pop company, you could do a brand awareness ad pretty cheaply, but if you boosted the post and did certain things, you're going to get only so far. With ours, we're actually getting leads captured on the other end of it. So I would look at that. And then the final thing I would look at is, you know, is there another mechanism during COVID that would give you a better return for leads? It could be anything. I mean, name something that you're spending on leads, other than Zillow. Are y'all buying leads anywhere? No? Okay. Well, great. Y'all don't even have to tell you about that. So let's look at your other avenues for how are you getting the leads in the MREA. And look at, can we add another level? Most agents have at least 2 major pieces of where they get their business from, and that's usually Sphere, and then some other close second, and then the third one is pretty deep, pretty wide gap. So you're going to at least have, I call it a 3-legged stool. You're going to at least have 3 mechanisms, if not 5, to get your leads from. Okay. That is the end of the presentation. However, I'm going to open it up for questions, because I know when I'm on the other side of that, I'm like, oh, I would have asked this, or I would have said this. So now's your opportunity. Stump the team leader.
Do you do client appreciation events or just client gifts?
I did both. I did that. I'm going to leave it as a caveat. If the client was a non-social person, they would get a little bit more of an elaborate gift. But if they were an influencer in the community, I threw them a party, because my point of the party was for their people to get to know me. I had 150 people come through at my last client event party. And it was pretty intense. I had to order food to be delivered because I had only planned for 75. So yeah, it was pretty intense. However, a couple of things that paid for that. I had a vendor sponsor. The lender who did the loan for them sponsored it. She also turned up. I had all of the guests register. She supplied 2 gift cards, so I gave away 2 gift cards. And then I supplied the paper products and some of the food, and she split some of the food with me. So out of that, there were so many leads that came out of that. I even had other realtors coming in to see what I was doing because I had cars all over the block. It
So
was
this
like,
this
it
client
was
event you're talking about is like a
Yeah.
housewarming.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a party at their house. So it was a housewarming event. I got their client or their friends list. I sent them an email. I sent them a hand addressed invite, and then I followed up with another email the week of. So now that if I were to redo that, I would add a text message the day of, if I had their phone number. But yeah, client events have always been a great thing for me. Right now, one of our agents, she did a drive-through client event. So
All that was really awesome. Will you tell them about that, Kathy? Because that was Cindy, right?
So Cindy Hillbrick is her name, and she's a top producing agent here at KW Hoover, and she has a restaurant that she will do once a quarter, and then other client events are different. But this particular one, it was scheduled to be a client sit down appreciation. Instead of that, she pre-ordered a chicken or beef, and they had an option of chicken or beef to choose from, and she got them to reverse call into her. So her message that she sent out, she recorded one video, emailed it out to her database, and this is called a reverse bold 100 is what it is. So she emailed it out to her database, that video, and then they had to call back in and say whether or not they wanted beef or chicken, and she had their order ready for them on a certain given day at a certain time at this restaurant. So the restaurant people were coming in, and she had a runner, and she was just standing curbside and handing them their food, and she snapped pictures. Her clients snapped pictures. Her clients brought 2 referrals with them that night to get their food as well. So she made, let's see, her average commission is $8,000. She made $16,000, and she spent less than $250 because she had a vendor split it with her. So the ROI on that, outrageous.
Well, and like you said she did the one thing with the video. She was just very strategic in what she did. And then they created the noise. How I saw it was on Facebook, and it wasn't her posting it. It was other people posting, oh my gosh, I just came and got my food. And this is during COVID. Like this was a couple weeks ago she did this. And people were so ecstatic to do it. It was like a parade.
It was a parade. She took one photo of all the cars. They were lined around the building. I mean, it was the best advertising ever, and she got a lot of traction. It was amazing.
That's
They
awesome.
came to her office to pick up the food, or they came to the restaurant to pick up the food?
The restaurant. She had them all come to the restaurant, and she has an assistant. So the assistant collected all of the beef or chicken orders, turned those orders in, and then she had the restaurant stand by to make additional orders if they needed to, which they ended up having 2 additional orders that weren't initially placed. But everybody else, they were just rolling on through, and they just saw Cindy, so they just got in line. She did have one person that got in line that didn't know what was going on. They just got in line. So they were like, I don't want to miss out on this. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to miss out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So one of the other things I would tell you that went over really well is the scavenger hunt. I had several of my top producers talk this morning, and they got that from Rachel Adams-Lee last week. And on her YouTube channel, she has a drop down that you can actually request the scavenger hunt information and you can go get it. So this morning I did a scavenger hunt with our Mindset Wednesday morning group. And, you know, it was whoever got all the pieces got a $50 gift certificate. So you could do that with your clients on a virtual scavenger hunt. You could do a Zoom virtual scavenger hunt and just have a list of already pre-made items. And then give away a gift card that a lender or a title company or, you know, a vendor partner gave you. So it doesn't have to be you giving away the money. It can be someone else doing that. Getting creative with client appreciation and client items. The main thing is for you to get out there, for you to get in place of you know, just making phone calls. Call somebody and say, hey, wouldn't you love to be a part of this scavenger hunt? Has nothing to do with real estate. I just want to connect. I want to love on you guys and give you an opportunity to win a gift certificate. Now, how many people would jump on that because they're so bored right now?
Yeah.
Right. The last thing I would tell you is make sure that you have, and Katie, I will text this to you after we hang up from this call. Make sure that you have added a personal video to your KW app. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to text Katie the link.
Yeah.
It is another way for you to be physically in front of people without being in front of them. And if you're not with KW, I would check out your app provider and see if there's a way that you can do that. We own Smarter Agent, which is about the 3/4 of the realtor group that has mobile apps. So you may have the capability of doing it. I'm not really sure, but I know that's something that rolled out recently for us. And that's another way to get in front of them virtually when we're in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
How long did it take you to get your database built that strong?
Oh, I love this question. Good question, Lakeisha. Okay, so it doesn't take as long as you would think. There is a bold questionnaire that has 250 questions on it, and it basically asks you who, when, what, where, why, those kind of questions of, you know, who do you go to the dentist with? You know, who are your kids' teachers? Who's your kid's best friend? And it goes through this laundry list of people that you would never remember, right?
Okay.
So it makes a plan in your mind of going through that process. And so during our care calls, one of the things that I am scripting with our team is to call and ask how they're doing and if there's anything that you can do for them personally or professionally. We've had everything from I need a job all the way to I need food. Right now we're doing we're donating food to Man in Ministry, and we're sending people there. There's a lot of different things that you can do. When you come from a giving heart like that and coming from contribution, what's the one question everybody asks you back?
What can I do for you?
Yeah, what can I do for you, or how's real estate? So I always say it is amazing, and I'm never too busy for your referrals. The one thing that you could do for me, Lakeisha, is to physically share my KW app with 5 of your friends. Doesn't cost you anything. When that is shared, I'll put you in a drawing this month for $25 at Home Depot. You know, whoever's open right now. And what that does is, how many people do you need to call to get 500 people in your database when you do it like that? 5 people at a time.
Mm-hmm.
100.
Calls that you make.
100 calls. You can have that done depending on how quickly. If you call 20 people a day, in 5 days.
And right now in Ignite, that's what we're doing. We're doubling down on the daily 10-4. So on your 20 people, there's a perfect way.
Yep.
And
So,
go ahead, Kathy.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say that memory jogger that you're talking about, I'll upload that into our Facebook group for our KW people. And then the non-KW, I'm happy to email that out, and several other things that Kathy talked about. I was taking notes so that I can share that with anybody too, some of the resources we discussed.
So that is a perfect way and to get 500 people in your database. When someone logs in on your app, what happens is you get a lead on command. That person is now synced to you. And you can spy on them, the good way, not the bad way. You can spy on what they're looking at. What is their favorite? What are they looking for? What do they not like? You know, and you don't want to be a creeper and call them and say, yeah, I just saw you were on the app 5 seconds ago. You don't want to be like that. You want to lead in with something natural and just say, hey, Katie, this is Kathy. I just wanted to touch base with you. We developed our new app. Just want to see if you've logged in and how you like it. And then they will give you a litany of things that they like or they don't like or whatever. What they say right there, you want to take that to heart, because if there's something that we can do to improve our app, we want to do that. But the majority of people are going to come back with, I love this house on Main Street. When can I get in on that? Yeah. I know we're doing COVID right now, but can I go see it? You know, how can I look at this? I have 5 kids at home and I don't have a sitter. So what my agents are doing, they volunteer to go virtually show them. So they'll go and they'll do a FaceTime and they'll show every nook and cranny of the house as if you were there with them, and they don't even have to leave their home. I have had more people this month not even physically step foot in a house that we've closed than I ever have in our career. And it's just us pivoting to how we can get business done. But that's a great question, Lakeisha. 5 people, get one person to share it with 5 people, and you just have to make 20 contacts a day. Very, very easy to get to 500. And 500 is a great number.
And just being strategic. So as you're lead generating, you have a purpose, right? Everything is purposeful.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Does anybody have anything else for Kathy before we wrap up?
No, thank you, Kathy. A lot of good information.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, James.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. Katie is a fearless leader. She will jump out there for you. She is one of my closest friends, and if you need anything else from me, I will jump through hoops to make it happen, because I love Katie so much. Your team leader is amazing. Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you.
See you later.
Bye.